I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell.
Oh, it's been pinched! It has been pinched, and it's the Rocket, isn't it? It's Jensen!
It's scored! Hunting Huddersfield will surely be going to Wembley!
It's going to go all the way!
It's going in for the Giants!
He's deceptively quick for a half-back. Is he going to go all the way?
They've got the numbers out wide here of Huddersfield. They have got the man out wide. It's McGilvray for the corner, and McGilvray is in.
Hey Sarah, Sarah, it's episode 3, and sadly this year there'll be no Wembley as the Huddersfield Giants succumbed manfully to a strong St Helens side at Headingley. Coming up this week, we'll look back at the defeat to St Helens, look forward to Monday night's game against Warrington, and all of the news and talking points in between. Singing from the same hymn sheet this week as myself, Matt Shaw. This week I have a man who on Friday almost turned into George Michael on account of him singing Jesus to a Child's solidly for a full 80 minutes. It's Jake Rowlands. A chap who still firmly believes it's playoffs for the Giants, it's Destiny's Child, Nathaniel Wood. And finally, a man who will be learning some new editing skills for this podcast this evening. It'll be Voodoo Childs for Josh Phillips. Good evening, everyone. How are we doing?
Good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening. Really good.
Okay.
Very well, thank you.
Okay, enough of the puns. St Helens 23, Huddersfield Giants 18. My main takeaway from this one, Jake, was a brilliant defensive line from Huddersfield, defended manfully on the line. I thought it was a really solid defensive display. Just fell short in the end, but a manful effort, I thought.
You could say that. I mean, I thought his right side defence was pretty dodgy at times, poor in areas. I mean, some of them tries you'd expect us to stop, and we would usually stop. I think, got over a bit easy on a couple of occasions. But generally, middle of the field, we manned up well. Like the previous game, St Helens had a lot of pressure. We seemed to, hold out, did really well, and we were right in the game till the very end, weren't we? Happy with the performance, but still quite a few areas to work on if we're going to improve.
How did you see that then, Nathaniel, in contrast?
Tend to agree. Good performance. I think St Helens have had an easier start to the season. If you look at the sort of teams they've played, they haven't played any of the top teams. And
played us twice, mate. Played us twice. That's top side.
That's it. The two toughest games they've had.
Yep.
If you look at the scoreline and the differences, is 8 points in the league against us and 5 last Friday in the cup. So we've run them twice, and everyone says they're the best team in the league. But we've served it up to them twice, and probably saying both games we've probably just been a bit unlucky. A few calls here and there going our way, and a bit of luck. It could have been a different story. Couldn't it on Friday? I thought, like saying in the middle, we were fantastic as forwards. Really stepped up and took it to them, and we got in the lead. And probably unlucky not to go 12-0 up, if I'm honest, with Josh Jones just trying. Surprised I didn't check that with the video ref. We stuck into the game and really well. Like I say, the middles I thought were fantastic. They did massive credit for me. St Helens have got a very big pack. The warms and the passes. They play big minutes. They're big blocks. We've all said previously on here we don't have the biggest pack, but they stepped up well, so they deserve a massive pat on the back for me.
I think what were good as well is, I think St Helens conceded the first penalties, didn't they, in that game? I think we got a penalty in a set of 6 quite early on, which helped us get upfield. Usually it's us conceding penalties straight away and getting on back foot. It was just good to see forwards get out, get in the faces, and put pressure on another team. And it was the first time this year we've actually scored first, wasn't it? So that was quite a pleasantry as well.
Yeah, I believe that's where Ian Watson comes into it. He said all along it's about getting into the arm wrestle and enjoying that tug of war basically, and going step for step. And people said if you go, I think it was by McDermott, maybe Phil Clark, one of them on the Sky, was saying if you go step for St Helens, they'll lose. Fair enough, we did lose, but I thought we handled the step for step with Saints very, very well all game. So Ian Watson says the arm wrestle's key and fitness will prevail. And if we want to play like we do against St Helens every week, we're going to come away with 2 points in the league most games. So it's definitely pleasing for me.
How good is Luke Yates, Josh?
He's very good. Like what I've seen from him, he's consistently top tackler every week. And also some of the tackles that he puts in, they're real, bone-shattering hits, aren't they? He gets under that ball, and they even if they're a lot bigger than him, like that Parsley and Walmsley, he's not afraid to stop him in the tracks. But yeah, I think he typifies everything that was good about us in that game. To be honest, I saw a lot of things that I liked. It felt like I was watching sort of like a 2013 sort of Huddersfield Giants team. The way we applied ourselves in that game, I think it was really the best kind of defeat you can have, even though obviously it's still a loss. But I can't think of a much better defeat we've had to endure. But I came away from the game a bit gutted, really. But then on reflection, it was a great performance from the boys, and I've been sort of wrestling with my own emotions on how I feel about this game, because a loss is a loss, and that's what it'll go down in history as. But I saw a lot of things, as I say, that I really liked about our performance, and as you said, Luke Yates really typified everything that Ian Watson wants from this team, and I think he's going to lead by example, and everyone will follow his lead, if you like.
For me, he was definitely our best forward Friday night. I thought the 2 tackles he put on the big men, when he just gets into the ribs and gets under the ball, I thought were 2 cracking tackles, and I agree. I think he's been a really good leader of our pack.
I think he played about 70 minutes as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
Played some big minutes. I think he only went off in second half for a short breather, and then we're straight back on.
People saying he's more of a loose forward than a prop, but I don't know. I think he's good at prop.
He don't make meters, does he? But he's on the field for the whole. If you had an impact prop that could come on, and you could use it, instead of bringing him off after 20 minutes like we do with some of us forwards, if you had Yates on for 70 minutes at prop, and then you had another big forward that could come off the bench, and use that interchange that you've saved, then I'd see the benefit in that. But at the moment, we don't really have that, do we? We don't really have any impact as such. I think that's where we need to improve for next year. Obviously,
we need a monster, don't we?
Yeah, there was nobody in the market at the time, and I think we passed that phase of just signing players for the sake of it, because then you end up with players like who, and that's not the sort of players we want, is it? We want players that are going to come and play and do well. We've had them in the past, like panic buyers like Shannon Waitman and stuff, and we need to be aiming better for that now.
But on the flip side, defensively, when you've got players like Yates and Michael Lawrence, you've got 2 players there that are tackling an articulated lorry driving through, wouldn't you? So, it's just maybe just someone just to punch through the holes in the opposition, and we'd be pretty much almost there, which is great. And one thing you guys wanted to see was Ricky Lutelli as well, playing at centre, and again he showed up quite well. Probably his best game, would you say, Jake?
Yeah, definitely. He's getting better. The more game time he has, the more time with the team he's going to improve. He looks strong. He looks like he can bust a tackle. And you see when we get Jake Wardle back, we've got 2 people on either side then. If you move one of them across that can bust tackles, I think we need to be getting the ball out wide. We're strong in middle defensively. We look dangerous when we go out wide, but we don't seem to go out wide often enough for me. Whether that's a tactics sort of thing from Watson, I don't know. But when we do decide to throw the ball out wide, we do look dangerous, don't we?
And I believe he was on the right-hand side, wasn't he, Nathaniel? I'm starting doubting myself after the dodgy intro I did at the first take that people won't hear. But it's looking good, isn't it, for the prospects at the centre and the fringe as well, and the wings. It's starting to look like you could see partnerships developing there, which will suit us going forward in the long run.
Yeah, I think he played left centre, didn't he? Actually, not right.
Yeah, he was on left.
McQueen were right.
He wasn't aimed on the right to confuse everyone.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the sheet here.
Yeah, you're quite right. So that's probably where the confusion came in. I think he must listen to his podcast, if I'm honest, because I can't remember who it was. I'm sure someone said he doesn't have the hands like Jake Wardle. Well, the hands that he showed to put down just before half time.
Yeah,
pretty good to me. So
yeah,
whoever said it last week, he must have listened to them and said, "I'll show him this week." But yeah. I thought he was excellent on Friday night. He they made a couple of breaks early on, didn't he? Looked lively. A bit disappointed. He went a bit quiet, I thought, in the second half, but I think maybe that's when he didn't put the ball his way often. And obviously the second half, he did a lot more defending, didn't we? So that may be why. But, in his own half, he did what Leroy does, and a lot of underappreciated work is when we're coming out of his own half, he gets the hands on the ball and he puts on the front foot, makes yards when his forwards are tired. And I think that shows Leroy does it a lot as well. And Jake Wardle's, and I think that's something Ian Watson and probably Simon Wolford, the past coach, got into him. But yeah, it was definitely his best game and showed good hands for Darnell's try and
What a try that was, though. What amazing athleticism. And it's not the first time Darnell's done that either. You roll back to that amazing try we scored at Salford a couple of years ago where Leroy with the out of the back of the hand and then Darnell flies in down the flank. He's got that in his locker, and it's very sort of NRL-esque, isn't it? That you see, the top tries that you'll see on YouTube. Fantastic work from Darnell, isn't it? And he's you see these flashes from Darnell, and he looks like, I still class him as a prospect, really, but you see these flashes and you think, you know what, there is a top player in there for sure.
He's turning into a good winger. I mean, Louis Senior can finish as well, to be fair, down that left, but our attack usually heads down the right, doesn't it, when we close to the line? But when we do get the balls to these guys on the left, they prove that they can finish. For me, his left side looks far more dangerous and better defensively than at the right at the moment, no matter who we seem to have down there. We've had Leroy inside Jerry, we've had McQueen, we've had Wood. It always seems to look a bit iffy in defence, if I'm honest. I don't know why that is, whose fault that is. No idea, but we seem to concede most of tries down that side, don't we? Especially this season.
Maybe some.
Just going back to Darnell, just a point I wanted to make. I think one thing he's added to his game in recent months is carrying the ball out from defence. Mm-hmm. He's always been pretty good at it, but this season especially, he's really been, driving, pushing, making decent meters, decent yardage. I think he's probably been learning from Jerry in that regard. And it's certainly proven that way at the minute.
It looks to have bulked up a bit as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
From previous years. I think that's doing some good.
Yeah, and then just going back to the Latelli, Jake Wardle thing, one of them's going to have to go out play on the right. Which one, is there any no evidence of either of them playing out there, I don't think, is
Well,
it?
you'd probably say at the moment, given the stage of the careers, the probably likely is Jake Wardle's going to adapt quicker to a new position than Latelli. Latelli's 31 now. He's played on the left his whole career. Jake's 22. He's probably going to adapt to that side quicker into given a run of games. But I think we've got to give him a run of games there. We can't put him in once if he looks a bit out of place for a game, then drop him. I think we've got to get him across there and stick with him for 3 or 4 weeks.
Might do his England prospects good as well, because if you can show they can play on either side, then he's probably obviously boost his chance of selection for England.
Jake Wardle moved to right just from the pre-season friendly where Latelli and Wardle both started and Jake played on the right. So unless that game changes opinion, I think that's probably the way they'll go. If them two are the first choice centres over Leroy when all three are fit.
Of course, you can't rule out Leroy, of course. Aiden Caesar, guys, I thought he was very, very good. And Josh's kicking was on point as well today, wasn't he? Straight from the tee, no criticism this week. He was great. Again,
I can't bash him this week.
No, how can you bash it?
He's another one who listened to the podcast and said, Josh, I'll show you.
Yeah, he's been out practicing every night with my words ringing in his ears.
Exactly, the emperor. I thought it was fantastic. And post-match as well, he gave us a little bit of hope, didn't he, that he might stay for a little while. He's definitely teasing the likes of us and myself, who's a big fan on here. Are we hopeful? Are we hopeful? Give me something.
I've seen plenty of players say they're not leaving and then they still go. But they asked Bevan French last year and then he stayed at Wigan for this year. So for him, he probably don't want it, but for me, hopefully no one at NRL wants him, so he's stuck at Huddersfield and he'll stay with us for a bit.
Mr. Thewlis, if you're listening, Darnell, contract, Caesar, contract, and you've got a very happy podcast going on here. Probably amongst it. And a big prop, We don't ask for much, do we?
I think we said last week, didn't we? We can't see him going to another club in Super League. I think he's happy at the Giants. If he goes to the NRL, you can't blame him. Darryl Clark said last week at Warrington, it's all rumours, but there's strong reports linking him to NRL, and I fully expect him to be there next year, if I'm honest.
He's a class actor, Darryl Clark.
Yeah, you've got to take it with a pinch of salt, aren't you? In front of the Sky cameras, they're not going to stand there going, "No, I won't be here." They've got rest of the year to play with, lads.
You've got to expect he's going to give a diplomatic answer, and he's not going to say, "I'm off," like he said. But I think he could easily get an NRL club, to be honest.
Let's just all keep the up, boys. Come on.
Yeah, I'm with Nathaniel on this one. Shush, it's staying.
Let's hope we're telling the truth.
Obviously, I think we've got a good chance of him staying, actually. But at the start of this season, I was sort of thinking, well, if we've only got him for one more year, we need to do something this year. But the way this season's shaping up, working out. It's more like maybe next year we'll have more chance of doing something major. So if we could keep him on for that would be massive.
However, though, what if a player became available on a 2-3 year deal that were a class player and Caesar turns around and says, "I'm only staying for 1 more year"? What would you do then?
Depends who it is,
Get 'em
how
both.
old they are, what nationality they are.
Get them both. No. How many
You
marquee
mean like
players
a-
are you allowed? 3, 2, 3? Get them in.
Well, I think, yeah. It all depend on who it was, Jake.
Yeah.
Okay, so Eden Caesar. So after that, another thing we've got on the agenda here is who you would play alongside him, because Nathaniel, you mentioned Ashton Golding's returning soon. I really like Ashton Golding. There's been a couple of tries this year. I like Lee Gaskell as well. Fullback, not so much as in the halves, but I do like Lee Gaskell. And you watch a couple of the tries. I think it was Bodie and Thompson against Leeds where he went low, and that's where Ashton Golding's really good defensively. Keeping those out. Whereas Gaskell at 6'3", he's a bit harder to get down. I think defensively, Golding's an excellent player. Really like Ashton Golding, and he plays hooker as well, doesn't he? For Jamaica, he's got quite a lot in his tank. If he comes back in at fullback, who are you looking then to partner with Eden Caesar? Are you looking at Gaskell, or are you thinking of keeping Jack Cogger and Caesar going together? I'll throw that openly.
On the Ashton Golding point, I'm not blaming Lee Gaskell one bit for the loss on Friday, and I don't want anyone to presume I am. I feel we'd have won on Friday if Ashton Golding played. There's a Regan Grace try where, as you said, Matt, is 6'3". It's difficult for him to get down. Well, if Golding were there, I think Golding holds Regan Grace up. You take the 6 points off and win by a point. However, I know it's a completely different game. If that gets held up, they could have scored off the next play. Ashton Golding's defence is second to none. I think he's one of the best defensive fullbacks in the league. So it'll be a massive plus and a massive return when he comes back. Regarding your halfback situation, I'm a massive Gasky fan, but for me, you don't bring a 22, 23-year-old Jack Cogger over from the NRL to sit him in the stands. I think he's shown enough at the start of the season next to Caesar. He's getting better and better every week. For me, Jack Cogger would start next to Eden Caesar in the halves. I'm pretty sure Jake thinks the opposite though. So
Hey, I'm with you actually, because as soon as he did that spiral bomb against Leeds, there were shades of Danny Brough there, and I was like, right, he'll do for me. But Jake, what are you thinking?
Gaskell, so
Golding goes straight back in if he's fit in 2 weeks' time. You don't give him a few weeks for me; he goes straight back in. I'm going to be a little bit critical of Gaskell. I think he's a bit soft. Proved it on a couple of occasions against St Helens. I think he got the ball stripped when returning it right by his own line. That first 10 minutes, I think he went missing in that second half. He shies away from high balls sometimes. He looks good sometimes against the poorer teams. He can make a break against your Hull KRs, but when you're playing top teams, it's when you notice that he ain't a fullback. Other teams have got, like Cass are lucky to have Evalds and O'Brien that can fit in and they just play so well there. Wigan have got Ardacre or French, big dilemma to have. Once Golding gets injured, you're looking at our team and you think, who do we play there? Yeah, Gaskell's done all right thus far, but you can tell in these big games against big teams he's not a fullback. I think one of the commentators on Sky Wells, said he's found his position. I'd have to disagree with that, really. Defensively he's a bit weak. He did some good defensive stuff as well, though. I think he held up Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook in that first half when he went off injured, put a good shot in. They reckoned on it with a head knock when it were straight in ribs. I do think St Helens were going down a bit easy at times to give forwards a bit of a breather. I think they had about 4 injuries, didn't they, where they went down as though it were a really bad injury, and then as soon as they had a bit of a breather, got straight back up. Thought that were a bit of a Catalan's game plan. But I'd agree with Nathaniel, really. I'd have put Cogger in. I don't think you bring him here to sit on bench or sitting sidelines. Why has he come here? He's come here to play, hasn't he? Get game time. He's obviously been promised that game time as well. Otherwise, I can't see him signing for us. Would you go with Gaskell and Caesar? Start O'Brien with Cogger off the bench. He's played a bit of hooker before. Bring him on if Gaskell's not playing well or Caesar's gets a little bit of a knock. Do you bring him on then? Do you bring him on to spell at hooker? I don't know. He might go that way. But yeah, definitely start with Cogger and Caesar, and then Golding at fullback.
I was just about to start, Jake, to throw a spanner in the works. Just like you said, Cogger has played 9 before, so Gasky could get the nod and Cogger on the bench. But then again, if you do that, I think James Cunningham would be very, very unlucky to miss out.
He played well the other day. That was his best game for Giants.
I think tough choices, but I trust Ian Watson to get it right. What about you, Josh?
Well, just picking up on what you said about if Golding had played, we'd have won the game. I don't disagree from a defensive point of view, and I agree Gaskell's not a fullback. But maybe having 3 halfbacks on the pitch at the same time, did that offer us more in attack? Did that give Saints more to think about? Because as much as I like Golding, and I would have him straight back in at fullback, he's, like I said, he's more of a defensive fullback. So maybe having Gaskell on the pitch did that give Saints some more to think about? Maybe wouldn't have scored as many points. I don't know. Maybe I'm just playing devil's advocate there. But in terms of which one you partner Caesar with when Golding comes back in, for me, and I appreciate what you're saying about Cogger. He's not come all this way to sit in the stands, but for me, he's got to prove that he's a marked improvement on Gaskell. And for me, I don't think he's done so yet. I know he's not been here long, and there's been some good signs from him. But at this moment in time, as we're speaking, I've seen more from Gaskell as a player than Cogger, personally. But I know he's got plenty of time to prove me wrong.
Interesting. And obviously,
also the kicking options that we had on Friday night. Going back to what I said about having 3 halfbacks on the pitch, it was not as obvious who was going to kick because you got Gaskell, Cogger, and Caesar who can all kick. When Golding comes back in, you've only got Cogger or Gaskell and Caesar. So that's just another point.
Just throwing this out there, you wouldn't potentially think of playing Gaskell right centre?
No,
definitely not.
No.
And if Lee Gaskell does want to reply to Jake Rowlands, it's Jake Rowlands 2017 on Twitter.
I just don't think he's not strong enough.
I think the big thing on Ashton Golding as well is I'll just get it in there while we're talking about him. They were set, and like Yates said, they went down injured. I think they went down injured on their right. Can't remember who it was. And then the next play, they literally just shipped it all the way to the left wing, our right edge, like we were saying, and they scored in the corner. I think it was probably one of Regan Grace's tries. And I think the only thing I can imagine being wrong, I don't know, I've not watched it back from that point of view, is our numbers must have been wrong. If they've got 8 attacking players on that side, we should really have 8 defenders on that side. But I feel that we couldn't have done because we got stripped for numbers so easy. Now, I don't know if it's someone's that bit in and took a lead runner, so we had 2 on 1 man and that's just left us outnumbered on the right, or if we didn't have his numbers right. But if we didn't have his numbers right, Golding's very good at that. Golding's a good talker, he's good at getting his numbers right and positioning people. I thought Gaskell did a good job. You could see him behind the play, picking people up out of the ruck and getting them where he wanted them. But if that is the answer where we're just outnumbered, then we look at the fullback, and I think that's where a natural fullback in Ashton Golding will fit in better for us.
Sorry, go on, you go, Jake.
I mean, you can criticise Jerry a little bit on that right because he comes flying out sometimes. He did it on a few occasions on a Friday night. But is he doing that to make up for the lack of men?
If his centre goes, he's got to go.
Yeah, but if he flew out sometimes and he didn't have a chance in Nell, and it was quite an easy try for Grace, and we need to get better down that right hand side. We just look a bit vulnerable, no matter who plays there, and I don't know why that is. Are we overcompensating on left, and which is leaving us open on right? I don't know, but like you said, we shouldn't have been conceding that try straight away from that. From there, especially when they went down injured. His defensive line should have been set, and a better defensive fullback, I think, would have got the men, or at least got across to try and get him over into touch or something. Yeah, we're a bit disappointed with that try. That looked worse won at game, to be honest, for me. I was fuming.
on Gaskell, he's out of contract at the end of this season. And although he's, as we've said, he's got his flaws playing at fullback, for me, I think he's done a good enough job to be a second option for a team like us. We're not going to have Hardacre and Bevan Fringe competing for a number 1 position. No. So I think if we are to go with to keep Gaskell at the club next year, I think he's strengthened his case for a new contract with his performances at fullback. Maybe
so, but I don't think he'll. If Cogger, see, the thing with him going to fullback is if Cogger starts playing well, Cogger's going to get the nod over Gaskell. You'd think at the moment because it keeps your halfbacks the same, unless one of them gets an injury, of course. At that point, it becomes when he's trying to negotiate a new contract, is he negotiating as a starting Super League half? Well, he's not at that time, is he? Will he get an offer from somebody else? He's probably on his last contract, big contract, isn't he? What is he now, about 28, 29? If he takes a 3-year deal, 30, if he takes a 3-year deal somewhere, if Giants offer him another 1-year contract and somebody else offers him, but I won't be offering him a 3-year contract.
No, not with his injury record.
No, I'll be offering him a year. If we do offer him one, what does that say to Ollie Russell, who's they're speaking highly of? That's another year where he's going to get minimal game time again, isn't it? He's already not playing much this year.
For me, just going back to what I said about why I think Gaskell's better than Cogger, I'll back it up a bit. When we've got the ball on the opposition try line, if the ball comes to Gaskell, I think there's more chance of him doing something with it than Cogger. I've not seen him. I don't even know what he is really. He's a running half, but he didn't make any breaks. That's. I've been harsh on him here because he's not been here long. But I don't know. Give me some. Tell me what he is, guys.
I think personally, Cogger plays with Caesar better. Caesar's a running halfback. Ian Watson said after the Leeds game that Caesar had his best game because he ran the ball, which tells me Aidan Caesar's the running halfback. Cogger for me is the better organiser. For me, Gaskell, I agree, he's a very, very good half. And if he was going to be a starting half, then I'd be more than happy to offer him a 2-3 year deal and let him stay at the club. If Cogger and Caesar are your halves, then, like I say, you definitely keep him, don't you? So it's a weird one. I think Caesar should be running half. Cogger's your dictator, you lead him around the pitch, and Caesar will chime in when he wants. Obviously, if Caesar asks for the ball, I'm sure he's the marquee man. He gets the ball done when he asks for it, like Danny Brough used to back in the day. So, but yeah, for me, Cogger just suits Aidan Caesar better. I mean, I could be wrong. Ian Watson might tell me I'm talking.
To be honest, I won't necessarily think.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say I don't think necessarily Gaskell and Cogger will be a bad option if Caesar gets a little knock. I think you'd see them two probably play well together. No, but the problem is if you go into next year, if Caesar leaves and you've got Gaskell, Cogger and Russell. Gaskell's got a really poor injury record, hasn't he? So you're going in knowing that you've got somebody who's going to be a starting half who's probably going to miss X amount of games. This year, he's kept himself fit, fair enough. But in previous years, he's missed quite a few games. And to be fair, Caesar has as well, hasn't he? He's missed his fair share.
You think Cogger's got a better kicking game than Gaskell?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It sounds like I'm digging out Cogger here, but I'm not. I want to do well.
It depends. I think we don't kick well when we get near opponent's line on the last last play. We seem to just make a mess of it all the time. The teams are always drilling it in goal, and we look a bit vulnerable. We have to knock it into dead. We just never seem to look. First try were good, wasn't it? Little dab through. But we don't do that. We don't do that very often, do we? We either, people either charge it down or we just knock it straight into someone or we turn the ball over. But I think kicking, when we're in midfield and we're looking for position, I think Cogger's a better kicker than Gaskell.
I think it depends if you're talking long or short. I think Gaskell's got the bigger boot on him to get us downfield for kicking out of his own half. The short kicking game from Cogger, I've been really impressed. He's probably unlucky not to have 2 tries in the last 2 weeks off the back of his little chips up for McQueen. It was Friday night was a repeat of the Leeds game, wasn't it? Cogger chips into the corner, McQueen up, knocks it back, Jones scores, and both weeks it's been disallowed for knock on, forward, whatever they want to call it. So, but yeah, short kicking game, Cogger. Long kicking game, I'd say Gaskell.
Interesting. So Regan Grace, guys, bit good.
Yeah, good finisher, isn't he?
He's a good finisher, but we made it easy for him, didn't we, on a couple of occasions? I'm pretty sure if it were, Wigan or somebody else on that right edge, muscling up a bit, I don't think he'd have scored them tries as easy as what he did. I think we're a bit weak on that side.
Yeah, it was definitely stoppable. That one after the play stopped and he went out wide to left to Grace. But it's interesting that he's only signed a 1-year contract extension. So is he after? He's Welsh after all. So is he?
Union.
You think in his future maybe in rugby union? Yeah.
Leave us alone, rugby union. Right then. Speaking of St Helens, we've had our say now. So any other business, guys, before we hear from our resident St Helens fan this week?
No, let's
let the experts speak.
Yes. So
nice to us.
Fantastic. So, so we've had our say, so it's now time for a St Helens fan to have theirs, and we've got a good one this week. We have a broadcast journalist and a voice very familiar to many darts and rugby league fans on TV. We've got Stuart Pyke.
We're sorry, your call cannot be
Hello,
taken
no
as
one is available to
Press the
take
number
your
and
call.
dial again.
Please leave a message after the tone.
Well, the Giants have certainly made it tough for us over the last couple of games in Super League and in the Challenge Cup quarter-finals. I think at the end of the day, Saints will be relieved to get through to the semi-finals. I know it's been a long time between drinks for Saints in winning it. 2008 at Wembley, they beat Hull. I was there. But nothing since. And I know it's been even longer for all the Huddersfield fans. 1953, of course. Even I wasn't born then. But yeah, I think the signs are still good, for the Giants. I know Ian Watson very, very well. Massive underachievers over the years, the Huddersfield Giants. He was at Salford, huge overachievers, and I expect Ian Watson in the next 3 years to turn Huddersfield into trophy winners. I really do. I backed them at the start of the season to finish in the playoff positions. I've seen nothing really to change my mind. Yes, they've had some disappointing results, but I think the performances are getting better and better and better. Gaskell at fullback looks good. The halfback partnership now, Cogger and Caesar, is beginning to gel. I don't think it's a really good side. Luke Yates, for me, is one of the best forwards in Super League. He was in my selection for the Super League Dream Team last year. The only thing I would say is that it'd be nice to see a few more youngsters coming through, obviously, with the likes of McGilvray and Cudjoe and Michael Lawrence and a few more, but there is a bit of age to the side. But Ian Watson knows what he's doing. Have the faith, stick with him. As for the cup tie, well, Regan Grace's hat-trick, I think, was the difference. Saints were just a little bit more patient, a little bit better when it came to execution. But I wouldn't worry. I really think that Ian Watson will turn Huddersfield round and make them into a trophy-winning team. You've just got to have patience. Don't forget that the club have probably outlaid more money this season on players than they ever have. The big question mark is, can they persuade Aidan Caesar to stay? If Caesar stays, I think the success will come sooner rather than later. The big question is, though, will the lure of going back to the NRL make a difference? We shall see. But for Saints, well, the dream is there to finally win a Challenge Cup at Wembley for the first time in 13 years. Hopefully, I'll be there. Saints will be there, and it'll be a grand day out in July at the famous old stadium. But if I was a Huddersfield fan, I'd still be very, very optimistic that things for the Giants will turn around this season.
Fantastic. So thanks to Josh for getting Stuart on. We've been doing this 2 weeks, and I think that's going to take a lot of beating to top that, don't you think?
Yeah, it's almost like he's a professional, isn't it?
I know. It made me excited, though, for the future of Huddersfield Giants. Backing Ian Watson there to win a couple of trophies, and apart from the 2013 League Leaders Shield, it's been slim pickings. But I feel excited after listening to that. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah. Well, whenever I speak to Stuart, he's always, in recent times anyway, we've been very positive about our prospects, and he's a guy who knows what he's talking about. He's got a lot of contacts in the game. So that's got to, fill you with optimism that we're getting tipped by someone as knowledgeable as Pikey.
Fantastic. Right, let's move on to some of our talking points now. So, Nathan, you wanted to talk a little bit about disciplinary in rugby league, or the RFL disciplinary panel as well.
Yeah, it's probably just me rant of the week. Couple of incidents that's happened this week and last week. We'll start with the Lee Mossop shoulder charge into the back against Casford last week in the league. He got sin bin for it, I think, and the disciplinary panel seemed to redeem it as a no-match ban, and he was okay to play against Cass in the Cup this week. Liam Watts did the same this Saturday in the Cup, and probably wasn't as bad as Lee Mossop. It wasn't as hard. It one that's late, I don't think. And then the disciplinary panel will give him 1 game ban this week, so he'll miss out this week. I know it doesn't affect us, but, there's the inconsistency in it. The Wigan game, Sam Powell did a cannonball tackle. The whole play got told to carry on. Jack Brown did a cannonball tackle. He got sin-binned. But they both come back this week. It's no charge. It's, sin-bin sufficient. No one got banned. And I think they're so obsessed, and rightly so, of protecting the players to the head injuries because it is serious, their heads, and we want to make sure all the players are right. So it's rightly so. But we're forgetting that a cannonball tackle and hit off the ball can cause you head injuries. A cannonball tackle can break legs. It can tear your ACLs, and that can also be career-ending injuries. I just think the inconsistency every week, like I say, it's the same thing happened last week in the same 2 teams, and one got one game ban and the other one done, and I just don't get how they come to it. So, but yeah, it's just me round to the week that they need to sharpen that up because if someone does a cannonball tackle this week on us and say it's an Aiden's season, he's out for 3 months, then a lot of people say that our season's over, won't they? So it could cost teams the playoff hopes and maybe the grand final hopes and stuff. So I just think they need to sharpen up and probably do a bit, make it more clear of why they're getting banned and why they're not.
I think all we ask for is the consistency, isn't it? It is difficult to judge what is and what isn't as bad. It's a bit of a grey area because people see incidents differently, don't they? But as you say, it's if they can be more consistent. It's often said they're more lenient certain teams. There's
without a doubt.
You could probably compile some pretty damning evidence to suggest that over the years, but I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist, but it's hard to disagree with that.
If you just go back a couple of weeks, all at Saints fan forum was thinking, Matuatia we're going to get banned, and then he didn't have so much as even have a case to answer to. You just if your own fans are saying he's definitely banned, tackle's pretty bad, we've had a fair share of players banned over the years. Wigan seemed to be a team that seemed to escape it quite often. You've got to ask what they do at these panels. Who do they get in? Do they get independents in? Do they? Is it the same people doing it time after time? They don't make it transparent, that do they really? So you'd no idea really. Going back to the head knocks though, do you believe some teams utilise that as a bit of a tactic? And fake head injuries. I definitely witnessed that at St Helens on Friday night. McCarthy Scarsbrook took a bit of a knocked at ribs. They took him off as an HIA, and even Christian Wolf after the game, I think they said to him, "How was his head?" And I thought he didn't pass, and so that he wasn't sure. But they said on Sky that he'd passed it. So
did he not come back on the field?
No, he didn't apparently. But when he went off, he were holding his ribs, and you see challenge straight into his ribs, and then straight away they went off with head. And I'm thinking, well, no, that's gone off. You're injured. Get off. I think a few teams I've noticed utilise it quite a bit. And they seem to pass
and also,
it straight back on.
Also, if the game's on Sky and there's a bit of a dodgy tackle, they know that if they stay down, it's going to get seen on the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
There'll be a yellow or a red card. Whereas if they just got up and played it, then they miss a chance for that. So they know what they're doing.
Yeah. It seems a bit teams with big forwards as well. Big forwards that can put a good 20-minute stint in. And then, if they can go off for 10 minutes and then come back on and they have to use a sub, it benefits them massively.
We're cynical, aren't we?
Yeah.
Something else that could benefit everybody massively, moving on to it, is the video referees are going to be at all games, aren't they, before too long? Positive move, guys?
Yeah, if you're going to use them, like if you'd have gone upstairs for us on Friday night, if you can actually use the video refs, then yeah, great stuff. But if you're not, you're going to take matters into your own hands and just, because I'm pretty sure, like I said, I hate to be bitter, but I think if we were at the other end on Friday night, he'd have either pointed to the spot or he'd have at least gone up to the video ref. And that's the frustrating thing about it, really. If they're there, use them.
Positive move for me. Go on, Josh.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Yeah, I was going to ask you something, actually. But my opinion on video refs at every game is, yeah, fine. It's obviously good to have every game played under the same conditions. It's been a criticism for years games are refereed in different ways because there's no video, obviously. And just touching quickly on that point Jake made, the Josh Jones try. It was Josh Jones, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was, yeah.
How was that? I mean, I can't believe you see some of the potential tries they go and look at, and there's no chance it's going to be a try. And that one, to me, it could easily have been given. I cannot believe it didn't even go to the screen. Yeah. But anyway, I'm digressing here. My point was, I've been watching a little bit of NRL recently, not as much as I was before, but I watch it now and again. I think I noticed the other day in the game that I watched, the tries were being sent up. I think it was the South v Melbourne game. Tries were being sent up so that the referee was giving the try. He wasn't doing the box in the air. He was giving the try, and then they were reviewing it as the kicker was lining up the kick, kind of thing. And if there was anything wrong with it, they'd pull it back. Now, I know you're a big NRL fan, and you're probably expert on this. Have they changed the way they go to the video?
Yep, they have in the NRL. You spot on. If the ref thinks it's a try, instead of going to video ref, they'll award the try. And like you say, while the kicker's lining it up, they'll have a quick look. And if there's any sort of doubt, they'll just tell the kicker, wait 2 minutes, it's under review. If they don't think it's a try and someone scores, then they'll go to the video ref and say, no, try. This is why. So it speeds the game up. They're not all waiting around then. It gives the referee the more importance. He's got to make a decision. Rather than if he doesn't know, he's just going to, I don't know, send it up. He has to make a decision if he feels it's a try, because he'll give it. I think it'll work. I think if we have video at every game, I think that's probably the way we should go. Put a bit more responsibility on our referees. Like Jake said, they seem to want to go to the video ref for everything. So let's go to them. Let's give them a bit more responsibility. And we all understand that they're going to make mistakes. They're not robots. They are human after all. And I was same as you in his WhatsApp group chat. I thought James Child on Friday's funny old game. If you look at Saints boards, they think he had a Giants shirt on. You look at Giants boards and you think he had a Saints shirt on. But I actually watched it back, and you know what? I don't think he had a bad game. Yes, he misses things here and there, but the refs are going to do that. Like you said, the Josh Jones try were big in. Maybe the forward pass for one of Regan Grace's try, maybe, but you look at the touch judges for that. Probably a set restart that I've mentioned on my social media platforms where Walmsley asked for it and just seemed to get it. I'm sure that wasn't the case, but so I think for Jets had a bad game, but yeah, he should have used the video ref for the Josh Jones try. And I think if you get him at every game, you'll see him used more because, like you say, sometimes the refs use it as a cop out, don't they?
Yeah. I've seen Mr. Child he's had worse games that I've seen, but yes, going back to the point about the new system in Australia for using the video, it's quite interesting because in football, the system that they're using obviously has been much derided by the fans, but that the new system they've adopted in Australia seems to be more going along those lines of making decisions while the game's sort of in play. So it's quite interesting that a sport that's had the video in play for years is now starting to adjust the way they're doing things. Maybe that is because of the VAR in football, and maybe they've thought we could do it this way. I'm not sure.
Well, what they can actually do as well in the NRL is, if there's a challenge and a late challenge off the ball, if the ref doesn't see it, he can carry on. The video ref or the bunker, as they call it, will look at it, and they can go back 2 or 3 plays. They carry the advantage. If they lose the ball, they can go back 2 or 3 plays and say, right, that's foul play, that's dangerous contact, we're having a penalty over here. So they do let it play. And the game's a lot quicker. The games are better to watch. It's not stop-start. And I think that's why it's a better spectacle to watch.
And you don't get what we mentioned earlier about if there's been a bad tackle or a dodgy tackle, player stays down because they know it's going to get looked at. But like you said there, if every tackle's been looked at, then they wouldn't have to do that because they'd know it'd be looked at by the video ref anyway.
That's it. So I completely agree that with you three that video refs at every Super League game would be a massive, massive plus. Obviously, Australia also have Captain's Challenge. If you have a video ref at every Super League game, that could be brought in over here. There's just so many options. I know it's all about money, so it might not be possible, but for me, it's a massive yes.
I'll throw something controversial in here. There was definitely a game when I'm glad we didn't have a video referee, and it was London Broncos at home 2 years ago where they actually scored right near the end. It actually was a try, and that the scene is relegated, to be honest. So I think we have benefited from not having them time to time as well.
No, that's
Another
right.
thing I just thought as well. Do you know what the plans are? Will there be screens at every game? Because if there's not a screen, then that's a bit, everyone stood waiting around. They can't see what they're looking at. That's probably not a good look.
No, because that terrified me if you've got Bobby Hicks up there.
It's meant to kill you, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But also, at every game, just to go back, I know Yates was very critical of our performance last week against Leeds Rhinos, but you have a video ref at that game and it goes up and the free tries get given, we win by 19, 20 points, and
no, that's true.
All of a sudden everyone's thinking it's a really good performance and we're not as critical as we was. So, swings and roundabouts, like you said, but for me, please get it in there, make it a fair playing field. And then, a lot of fans have the doubt that Leeds and Wigan and Saints are always on Sky, so they get the video refs every week where Huddersfield and your Salfords and your Wakefields are not on Sky. It's an advantage, isn't it, that you can get your tries checked and you can't when you're not. Like I said, London will say what Jake said, well, why when at our game we could have stayed up? But yeah, for me, let's get them in and make it a fair playing field.
I just had an interesting thought though. So let's say that this video ref at every game system gets brought in, and along with that, they adopt the NRL approach of the referee awards a try, and then if there's anything wrong with it, the video ref will let him know. Yeah. Okay, so we've scored a try. Caesar's lined up the kick, and we can't properly celebrate the try because we don't have a screen to look at, so we don't know what they're looking at. So is there a case where the fans can't properly celebrate the try until the kicker's taken the kick? Because up until then, we don't know if it's going to get overturned.
Sounds like VAR in football, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think
so. It's just something to consider.
At the NRL, you see there's screens, and you actually hear the video ref speaking as well, and I think the players can actually hear that as well. But so they know straight away if it's getting given or not. So it is interesting if you can follow that model. Then, like
for me, I think you would need a screen at every game, but that's going to be expensive. So
say if in NRL, if you didn't go up to the screen like you didn't the other night, and then those who are looking upstairs and were like, that's a try, can they pull it back and say that should have been given a try? But if he hasn't been gone upstairs, full stop, is it still a no try?
It'd still be a no try. The referee's made the decision. He's knocked on. He's confident he's made the right choice, hasn't he? And I'm not actually quite sure. The only thing I could think of that he actually thought was that McQueen knocked on into the St Helens man in the air, and that's how it came back down, because it definitely hit back on Chris McQueen, didn't it? So
100%.
But I'm not sure. I've not seen anything to say it's right or say it's wrong since. So
I've looked at it a couple of times, and for me, it's a try. We've been really hard done to there, and it changes the whole complexity of that game. Being 12-0 up, right? We'd have definitely kicked that. We're right by its sticks, wasn't it? 12-0 up. It's a different game then. Saints are, it's different being 6 points behind in it, but 12 points, it's it's a different ball game.
Shall we look forward then after our look back at the game? We've got Warrington coming up on Monday. What or any team changes would you guys make? It's a little bit early, isn't it, in terms of seeing the squad and knowing who is fit and who isn't fit. But presuming that things are as we suspect, any changes that you guys would make, Josh?
Only changes I would make would be fitness related. If players come back from injury, Ashton Golding, if he's fit, he comes straight back in at number 1 for me. And also Jake Wardle, he's too good to leave out the side. I'd put him in. I think we've agreed that maybe he's going to go right centre. But aside from that, they're the only two that I've got in my head. But having Sam Wood on the bench without playing him 2 games in a row, that's a strange one. So maybe
it is when you've got McQueen on field, who's utility. That is it is a strange move for me. That
So maybe get another forward on the bench, and I know Wood can play as a forward, but maybe get a bigger forward on the bench. Maybe Ronan Michael, maybe give him a go.
Well, you'd have McQueen, wouldn't you? If Wardle came back and we're right, McQueen would start at second row, wouldn't he? And then you'd get Edwards or Greenwood or Jones. Well, Jones is going to start into. He'd probably, I don't know. One of them would have to start come on bench, won't they? And come off bench. Probably be McQueen at the moment, to be honest.
I'd also like to see Ollie Wilson back on the bench, maybe ahead of Owen Trout. When he came to the club, Wilson was, destined for big things, and he has stalled a bit in his development. But I'd like to see him get back on track. Maybe he's not doing enough in training to get on the bench.
It looks like he's lost too much weight to me, Josh. When I last saw him at Fitch, it looks really, really lean. Some other blokes look to, Matt English looks to put a bit of weight on. He looks good. He looks probably the best I've seen him, Matty. Ollie looks skinny for me when he played earlier in the year. I don't know about you guys, but when he first came, he looked like he had a bit of weight on him. He looked, he was quite rough, and he played against Salford, didn't he? And he had a cracking game with Matty on Sky. And last year I wasn't really impressed that much, and then this year we haven't seen much of him. But just looked a bit slim for me.
Yeah, when he came, he was like an English clone, wasn't he?
Yeah,
English clone.
Yeah.
Polar bears in tandem, weren't they?
Yeah, the changes I make, and agree, Sam Wood off. If you're not going to play him, take him out of the squad. I'd personally play him. I'd be having him at centre. It's time to give him a crack, I think. He's never let us down, so probably give him if Leroy and Jay Wardle are still not fit, then I'd probably give Sam Wood a crack at centre and let's see what he's made of. So is it time for him to step into first team? But if you want to go with Chris McQueen at right centre, then I'd take him off the bench and probably, like you say, bring your Wilsons and your Gavetts if he's back, or something along them lines just to play forwards. But yeah, not sure on Jake Wardle. You should imagine Leroy can't be far off. He's been in the 21-man squad. He was out warming up. He was actually out warming up on Friday night.
No, he's just not selected, I've heard.
Now,
he's fit.
He's just not selected. He's fit. If that's the case, then I think McQueen will probably start centre again next week, if that's the way he's want to go. McQueen has played centre, so if Jake Wardle's back, obviously, like I said, he jumps in straight away. Guy in the forwards, the only forward I can possibly think might be dark playing would be Joe Greenwood. He's still yet to show me a good game in a Giants shirt yet. So
I thought he did better against Saints.
Yeah, I did. I thought that was his best game for us so far.
But yeah, so he'd be probably the only forward I think's a bit suspect of maybe losing the place if someone was to come in. But I'd still be keeping Joe Greenwood in the team and giving him time. So I don't see many changes. I don't think Ashton's back next week.
No, 24th he said, didn't he? So it's probably likely going to be it's likely going to be a Wigan game, I think. Only thing with Joe Greenwood is it looks like he could get a yellow card at any point. He gets a bit excited, doesn't he? But I don't think we missed Gavett at all. It was a game where we needed to make minimal errors as possible, and I thought we did at times. He's always good for a couple of poor errors into Gavett. I don't think we missed him at all, to be honest. I'd
probably like to say, if you're not going to start Leroy or Jake Wall in the centres or Sam Wood, then I'd probably just leave it as it is. Maybe, like I say, maybe a forward in on the bench for Sam Wood. There's no point having a player on the bench who's not going to play, is this? So.
What do you think Watson's seen in Leroy's game that he's maybe not been happy with that he's got in Chris McQueen? Do you think it's defensively?
I think he was out injured, wasn't he? And then McQueen came in and did a decent job. So I think he just wanted to try and repeat the Saints' league performance in the Cup. I think that was what it was.
I think McQueen just had 2 solid games at right centre when Leroy were injured, obviously, for the Saints game. Then he played against Leeds, didn't he, when they were injured for Leeds, and McQueen played there. And like Josh said, 2 solid games, we won. You always say, why change a winning team?
Yep.
You don't change a winning formula, do. If it's working, leave it. So I think that's just what Watson tried doing. To be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if he did the same again, because it was like, as we all said, it was a very good performance, wasn't it? So it wouldn't surprise me if he went the same again. Obviously, in front of fans next week, isn't it? So that could be interesting. But like I said, I think fans will benefit us, actually. So yeah, I think very similar.
Do we think Sam Wood is ahead of Leroy then in the pecking order if he's on the bench and Leroy's not in the 17?
Tough one, isn't it? Maybe so, but is Sam Wood there because he can play wing, can play centre, and he can play second row loose? Is that why he's there, for the utility value?
Yeah, true.
Rather than Leroy's probably as a centre. He could probably fill on the wing, but Sam Wood, I think, would do a better job on the wing, wouldn't he? So, but yeah, if you're not going to replace Sam Wood, I think at one point I thought it was Sam Wood and Trout weren't going to get on, but Trout came on in the second half, didn't he? And
yeah, I thought he had a good game, really good game, Trout. After he
a couple of mistakes. I think in our group saying, get him off his next Suarez. But after that, is
big carries.
Big carries, good tackles. He put his hand forward. He probably deserves to play again this week.
Definitely.
Interesting now with him getting selected over Roy Wilson. Like I say, he got selected over Roy Wilson, didn't he? So presumably he's above in the pecking order. But yeah, like I said, just keep it similar. They're playing well, so they all know the roles here now. So I don't think too many changes will happen.
I mean, for me, with Wood, it's a funny one really because we've never given him a run of games in one position. We keep, wing, then it's centre, then it's in forwards, and he's a bit like Michael Lawrence. When Michael Lawrence was 22, we gave him a set run of games in centre, didn't we? He played there for ages. Then we moved him into the second row. I see him being more of a forward really in a few years' time. I just don't think he's got the attributes at the moment to be in a set position. He'll do a job at centre. He's not really one to bust tackles, is he? Or make a break. He's just solid. And I just think when you've got them people fit like Jake Wardle, you've got to play them in front of him. He's brilliant to have in the squad, and every squad needs players like Sam Wood. But I just think he's a bit of a waste being on bench if you're not going to bring him on.
Agreed.
Like we said.
Yeah. How long's Joe Wardle out for?
Absolutely no idea.
I've heard contrasting stuff. I've heard, people have said to me he's done for the season. The fact that Watson's never mentioned him in an interview makes you wonder, but why won't Club have come out and said that? I always think if a player is out for the season, why won't Club just say, ruled out for a year, But so you don't know, do you? It's Jake Wardle that's the funny one for me because he were in 21-man squad the week after he got the knock against, I can't remember who we played, with LKR was it? And then the week after he was in the 21-man squad. And then he's not been in 21-man squad since. And Watson said that week, they were touch and go whether he were going to play. So it's like, I don't know, has he got a worse injury? Is it, has it flared up? Is he out for a while now? He hasn't really mentioned his name, has he, for the last few weeks?
No, they're both injury prone, aren't they?
Yeah. But I don't think Joe Wardle makes our strongest 17 at the moment. I don't see how we can.
A fit Joe Wardle would for me, but if he's just come back from injury, maybe not.
Can I get some predictions from you guys then as well while we're talking about?
No one wants to go because it's a tight one.
I'm going to back us to win. 2 league games in a row will win, and it'll see a start of a good run for us. I'll say Huddersfield by 6. I've said it to a few people, and I know a few Warrington fans, and they're not quite pleased with where the Warrington are actually playing at the minute. So if we can get in front, then I think we could easily beat them because I think the fans will be a positive for us and they'll turn on the Warrington team and Steve Price rather than support them because there's a bit of negativity around there, I think, at the minute of the way they're playing. Ratchford pulled up, didn't he, in the warm-up, didn't play. Darryl Clark went off with a pec injury. Jack Hughes has received a 1-game ban, so he won't play. So could be a few changes for them if Darryl Clark's not fit and Ratchford don't make it. And
Matty Ashton's out for a while as well, isn't he?
Ashton's not going to play, yeah. So Greg Inglis is only in his 3rd game in, so he won't be fully fit, firing yet. So
we're going to smash him.
I'll go Huddersfield by 6.
I did see some worrying signs, English barging over, and I do get worried on that left-hand side. Look how easy Regan Grace barged over 3 men, on that right-hand side. Inglis is a big bloke, a big strong bloke, and I can just see him causing us a few problems down that right-hand side.
Will he play full-back?
Maybe. I don't think he's fit enough to play full-back, though. He's a big lad now, isn't he? Did he?
He got named. They did an us. They named Inglis at centre, Josh Fulis at fullback and Mamo on the wing.
Right.
And when they played, Mamo played centre, Fulis on the wing, and Greg Inglis went back to fullback. So, yeah, I agree. He could cause damage on the left edge, and if Steve Price sees that, it wouldn't surprise me if that's where he put him.
I mean, fair play to Mamo. He's been playing well, hasn't he, this year?
But the problem we also had is a few Warrington fans told me that against Hull KR, because Greg Inglis played left centre, Toby Kim moved to the right, and he wasn't as good as he has been on the left.
Right.
So, he has got down problems like us, so... But yeah, it won't surprise me if Greg Inglis still played at fullback, right? Unless if Ratchford's fit, they move Ratchford back there and they play Blake Austin and Widdop in the arse. So
yeah,
he's got a few options, Antti, if he gets Ratchford fit. So
I mean, Lineham's out of favour as well, isn't he, at the moment? I've heard reports. Yeah.
If English does play left centre, you've got to have McQueen as our right centre then.
I'm not so sure, to be honest. Because I don't know. I just think we've got to go with the strongest squad, haven't we?
I just think McQueen's defensively more solid, and he's bigger, obviously. If we are worried about that,
we've got to pick our strongest team that we think will win the game, and not try to worry about
the one player. Yeah.
I do really like McQueen though. I think he's good.
I think he's been brilliant this year. Yeah, I just think we're better with him in forwards. If you've got McQueen on bench instead of Wood, it just makes your bench a lot stronger, doesn't it?
Yeah. It'd be nice to have Jake Wardle back in at right centre. To be fair,
Any team with their players they have will be tough to beat. Obviously, your Ratford, your Austins, your Widdips, your Clarks, even in the forwards, got Philbin, Chris Hill, Mike Cooper, all very good players. So they're going to be a tough team to beat. But like I say, I haven't seen anything this season where they've blown me away with all them players. So I think if we can play the same as we did against St Helens, like I say, I'm going Huddersfield by 6.
Yeah.
It's always a tough game against Warrington, no matter what. And especially with it being on Sky, first game back with fans. But then, as you say, like all the injuries they've got, they're not blowing teams away. I think we'll definitely be in the game. We'll definitely compete. I think it'll be close. And if we play like we did against St Helens, I think we'll win the game. So I'm going to be positive, and I'm going to say Giants 13-12.
13-12, God. I think if Daryl Clark's out, that's the big one for us. He's a phenomenal player. He got him out of jail at the weekend, didn't he? If he's out, I think we'll win easily, to be honest. I still don't see us scoring over 20 points, like you say. We don't look like we can. I think we've got to win, to be honest. I think it's one of them games where, if we lose to Warrington, with fixtures, we'll be 6 points behind the top 6. It's hard to see. It's hard for me to see us making that up. So I think it's, everything's on the line against Warrington for us in terms of doing out this year now. So I'll go Giants 18, Warrington 14.
Similar to what I was going to go if I was going to go 18-16 to Huddersfield. So pretty much a clean sweep there, isn't it? Again, we're all believing. We're all back on the hype train of Huddersfield Giants, and some idiot didn't get the memo that it was a top 6 playoff this season again. So I'm back on the Huddersfield Giants for the top 6 as well. So I think that's all we've pretty much got time for this week. We've been going for an hour. So thanks again for Nathaniel, Jake, Josh joining us. And we'll be back hopefully this time again next week, maybe on Tuesday.